So on yesterday's show, we did a video on Bernie Sanders, right? I know. Why are we talking about the Democrats? Yes, we know that they suck, but it's like I'm just trying to warn all of you. I know what's going to happen. I know what Bernie's going to do. They're trying to do this fight the oligarchy tour, and they're trying to get more people into the Democrat Party. And Bernie, look, he needs to be called out because it's like it's 8 years too late, buddy. All right, this is like salt in the wound. But in order for us to get better, we got to come to terms of what happened in 2016. I mean, at the end of the day, at least Trump gave a damn about his supporting base. You know, at least when Trump was talking like, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to fight." You know, he lost in 2020, but he still ran again. I mean, here he is. Bernie failed. So I want to give a huge shout out to Nick from RBN, and also he does work on hotspots. So let's go and play this video.
Sanders finally admits that the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. So 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
If you are openly acknowledging the Democratic Party is corrupt, then what exactly is the point of your fighting the oligarchy tour? So Bernie Sanders and AOC are flying around in private jets, greatly polluting our environment just to trick young people into supporting a corrupt party that rigs their democratic process. Notice how Bernie Sanders spreads nihilism among the left in the United States by saying that we simply have no choice but to support a corrupt, evil Democratic Party. When Bernie Sanders says we have no choice, what he really means is for his career. We 100% have a choice not to support either two corrupt parties and build our own third party. But Nick, don't you know that a third party can't win? Bernie Sanders just admitted that the Democratic Party rigged their primary. Meanwhile, people are hesitant to support a third party because they claim they can't win. You can't win in the Democratic Party. What exactly is your plan to overcome AIPAC? You know, the organization that brags about having a 100% win rate in Democratic Party primaries? You guys are already taking massive L's over and over again. At least running as a third party, you are actually building something. The reality of the situation is ever since the rise of Bernie Sanders, our revolution and Justice Democrats, the Democratic Party has shifted to the right. The strategy of the progressive Democrat has been a complete failure.
So what's the takeaway? Well, the real takeaway is that, look, Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, our revolution, DSA, if you gave money to them, they took your money. They ran off. They were never going to follow through with any kind of change. The people they put into office were disappointments, and some of the candidates that they pushed forward were disappointments. I mean, how much more clearer do I need to make this? How much more clear do I need to make this for everyone to see in firsthand, in real time, for us all to witness that, yes, my lovelies, my mornings, my sunshines, you beautiful, lovely people, that this is where we're at with the political institutions, and Bernie Sanders is one of those people that just allowed this to take place. And you would think he would be fighting harder. I remember Philadelphia, and guess what? I was disappointed with Philadelphia. I remember those days now. I remember an innocent time, the good old days. But the thing about the good old days is that they're the old days, you know, and we don't focus on that anymore. It's very, 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 very sad here. That's where we're at. And of course, you know, with all of this being brought up, we've got, of course, the follow-up from the other side.
Socialism's grandpa going into the manosphere. Bernie Sanders showing up on the Flagrant podcast, getting called out for supporting Dems. after the DNC screwed him in the primaries.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
Ostensibly, there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008. Are they not also a threat to democracy? We often hear...
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point. You got a democratic establishment now, which is funded by wealthy people. You have consultants who are really way out of touch with reality, who make a whole lot of money in campaigns, and working classes ignore them.
Jessica, you can disagree with like his policies or whatever, but there's one thing I have to say about him that is so different than the majority of the people on your side, the people running, is that he doesn't have a filter. You can tell that he's not, when he's talking, he's not thinking about what he's supposed to say. And that's what you need. I mean, it's kind of sad. He's like going into his 9th decade and he's the strongest person you have.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but Bernie's a genuine article. He's completely authentic. He's always been this way, you know, like it or don't like it. And one of the risks that you do run if you want to go on podcasts with people who have different political views is that some Democrats may say some things that you don't agree with. And that net, if you sit there for a couple hours, it's going to say 90% of the things that you do like and 10% of the things that you don't. And I still think that it's a win because it also, you know, represents to people who maybe didn't vote for Kamala Harris or have become disenchanted with Democrats to say, oh, there's someone in this party that I think is great.
Look, I'm already seeing the pushback from the audience, okay? He said Kamala was a smart person. Hillary was his friend. Nope. Bernie Sanders from Earl of Laurel. This sucks. Vote for it. Yeah, hold on. What else we got here? Let's see. This is the guy. Is this guy effing kidding me? You could have told working people that before. We wasted over $100 million on your dumb aid. That's right. So this all happened recently. Bernie. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's what we're seeing here. The fact that you know this, Bernie, makes you even worse. Absolutely, from Mastermind Hour. You know? He should have... Look, Bernie knew all of this. And I really do wish that... and Big Basil says, scammed by Bernie. Yep, absolutely. And I regret any kind word I ever said about Senator Bernie Sanders. You know, I have to carry that L for the rest of my life. But hey, I learned from a friend that, you know, that I recently made. Sometimes you got to face your mistakes.
But on the merits of this argument that he's making and that Andrew Schultz is making, that we haven't had a fair primary since 2008, I call BS. Bernie Sanders has never been able to get a strong base of support with Black voters in this country. They are too conservative for him. They're conservative on immigration. They're conservative on health care. He comes in, he runs as a socialist. He's a democratic socialist. He's not even a straight Democrat. He's like Medicare for all, health care for people who are here undocumented. So, you know, in 2016, did the DNC want Hillary to win? 100%, but they fake those extra 4 million votes than she thought. And in 2020.
First of all, I remember the 2016 primary. I remember people waiting 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours in line. Polling stations being shut down, voting machines not working, lack of paper ballots. Maybe I remember things differently. Maybe this is it. Maybe. God, I need to go on a vacation. I need to go on a long sabbatical, folks. I might have to go on a very long sabbatical, a very long vacation, just to get my head straight, because I don't know how much more stupidity I can handle.
Biden won as well by millions of votes because he was the centrist moderate candidate.
Kennedy's going to explode. Go.
Superdelegates, man. And Bernie said it in 2016. He was railroaded by the superdelegates. They were baked into the cake. These were people who could vote any way they wanted. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that the reason the Democrat Party was set up the way it was to make sure people like Bernie Sanders could not make it through the process and become the nominee. So why did they change the rules and get rid of superdelegates in 2018? Because Bernie was still very much a threat. And then in 2020, well, guess what? Joe Biden was the nominee. Yes, because Jim Clyburn endorsed him at a very critical moment before the South Carolina primary. But guess who's back in the Democrat Party? Super delegates. And you know what? Bernie Sanders used your party as long as it benefited him. And it made his name recognition massive. He was able to sell books. And now he's rich. And now the party doesn't mean anything to him anymore. He wants to be Mr. Authentic again, give AOC the mantle in his talking points. So he's burning the whole thing down because he's a commie.
Oh, Martha.
Oh, boogie. He's a communist. Gotta love it, don't you? Gotta love it, don't you? Yeah. I'm banging my head against a brick wall here.
Well, I would just say that they had an opportunity in 2024 when Biden dropped out to actually have an authentic primary process, and it lasted for about the 20 seconds it took Biden to drop out, and then we now know get pressured by Kamala Harris to say, you better say that I'm the person that you want to succeed you. And there was rumbling out there wanting a primary, but it got spiked again in 2024.
Jesse, isn't it weird? You're seeing the Democrat. This is the only thing they got going for him is like an 80-plus-year-old dude. And you look on the right side, kids love being Republican. The Gen Z boys, they're all Republican. They don't have anything to appeal to young people.
Because Trump populism breathed new life into the party. And that's how you have to let it do.
Yes, of course. Trump populism. Okay. Listen. It is abundantly clear that Democrats have a brand that is dying. They don't have anything to really stand on. Okay. But with the aftermath of Bernie Sanders, with the aftermath of all the work that he has done, with everything that he's been speaking out, I mean, let's be clear here. It's over for somebody like Bernie. He doesn't have any relevancy anymore. It's over. It's beyond over at this point. So the true takeaway is, what took you so long, Bernie? Is it because you're in your final years that this is where you're going now? In your final moment? Like, good. Okay, I'm glad you're being called out. But it took you this long to actually say anything. It took you this long to actually speak out. Disappointing. Despicable. And depressing. 8 years. Well, better late than never, but on behalf of everyone, please go F off.
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry, it's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece. It's such a freeing feeling that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat. They don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, not me, us, as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're going to stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly, you're in a play that's set on an election day and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly, the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug, and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd, and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark, and all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we could exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. Because he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leaching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.